Hey, what's going on? This is the Body Punch Podcast, and my name is Naz. Welcome to the UFC 269 post-fight live stream. What an exciting night of fights. What an amazing night of fights for some of the great fighters that fought, including Julianna Peña, Charles Oliveira, Jeff Neal, Kai Kara France, Sean O'Malley, and the list goes on in the prelims and even the early prelims. Some of those fights, including fighters like Ryan Hall coming back and winning after his devastating loss before and getting the unanimous decision win against a very game minor, including the Eric Anders losing against Munoz, and then the prelims being so stacked with Tai Tuivasa ending his night with the Shui with an amazing KO knockout in the second round. Dominic Cruz looking vintage as ever in his win against Pedro Munoz. Josh Emmett beating 50K Dan Ige. But the crown jewel of this event was when Charles Oliveira defeated Dustin Poirier. In many people's opinion, they had Dustin Poirier winning this fight. And I had a feeling that Dustin Poirier would have the slight edge in the power, defeating everybody like Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje. You know, the list goes on the for the people that Dustin Poirier has defeated. But at the end of the day, it seems like what the commentators and what a lot of people in the media were talking about, which was the slick striking abilities of Charles Oliveira and the grappling abilities that he's displayed in his 10-fight winning streak, was the one thing that put him over the edge when it comes to this fight. Going into this fight, I think the first round, how explosive that round was for both of these fighters. For both of these fighters in that first round, I saw glimpses of, one person leading a little bit, one person taking the edge. But I really felt that first round was Dustin Poirier's round. It just felt like the power, the boxing ability that Dustin Poirier was showing in that first round was getting the better of Garbrandt. And you could see with every shot that Dustin Poirier threw, it was really affecting Charles Garbrandt. But then we saw a little bit different sauce being added by Charles Garbrandt. He added a little bit of those knees. He was throwing a bunch of those elbows. But then in the second round, if my memory serves me correct, that's where Charles Garbrandt, he was in a position where he was compromising Dustin Poirier, really tried taking him to the ground, used some of his wrestling that a lot of people were questioning coming into this fight. But then also we saw that glove grab, the clawing of the glove while Dustin Poirier was in the guard of Charles Oliveira, and that gave him the ability to take Dustin Poirier down. Dustin Poirier spun, he did a somersault almost, and then allowed Charles Garbrandt to get on top of him, and that, I believe, really tired him out. That really tired out Dustin Poirier with having to defend Charles Garbrandt. He was always being offensive with his jiu-jitsu, with his ground game. He was always going for a choke. He was always going to advance the position. At one point, Dustin Poirier was just holding the position. And I think smartly, Joe Rogan pointed out that one of Dustin Poirier's main regrets in the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight was the fact that he didn't let the round. He didn't give up the round. He gave up the position almost, and I'm butchering that, but basically, he was in a compromised position in the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight, but then he really tried muscling his way out of it, and that allowed Khabib to get the back of Dustin Poirier. And I think in that situation, where Charles was on top of him, we knew the ability that he possesses, the way that he's able to just strangle everybody in so many different positions. But we'll get to it. It was such a vintage choke that Oliveira got. He's known for backpacking people and getting that rear naked choke. But Dustin Poirier, with all of the things that he was doing so well in that first round, the boxing that he was showing, the power that he was showing, all the special stuff that Dustin Poirier has done throughout his winning streak after the Khabib loss, and even before the Khabib loss, the way that he was able to take out Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, and then after, the way that he was able to take out Dan Hooker, going blow for blow with him, and then taking out Conor McGregor and giving him his first TKO loss like that. It was all due to the power, being calm in the pocket, and exchanging with these guys. But the way that Charles was able to remain calm, everything was coming straight down the pipe, everything was resetting after he threw, and it wasn't much. There wasn't much staring at your handiwork, meaning that he didn't throw an amazing combination, get one of those knees down the pipe, and then just kind of stare at him. He set up the next strike. He set up the next thing that he was going to do. He remained calm. I think that many people talked about the Max Holloway loss, how against Max Holloway he had issues with his trachea and he had issues with his shoulder, but also the loss to Paul Felder, where Paul got possessed and started punching his head through the ground, and where he tapped out due to strikes. A lot of people took that information and regarded him as someone as mentally weak. And I think having Dustin the Diamond Poirier stare you down and throw bombs at you, the way that he was able to just take it and reset and calm himself down and remember all of the great stuff that he does and remember what got him to this position. This fight really put him up as the king of that 155-pound division. And there isn't much doubt, without Khabib Nurmagomedov in this division, that Charles Oliveira is someone that may dominate this division for a long time. The way that he was able to compose himself against someone that many pundits, many people in the industry were saying was going to defeat him, was going to take him out. He's already the uncrowned champion. And for him to go in there and reset himself after that first round, which I believe, I got to rewatch it and everything, but I believe that first round went to Dustin Poirier. And if it wasn't for a couple of moments that Charles Oliveira took advantage of, I think that first round was clearly Dustin Poirier's. And I think even Dustin Poirier, even listening to his post-fight thoughts, I think he was extremely surprised at the fact that Charles was able to take his best shots. I think that even in the Josh Emmett fight, we were seeing that the commentators were pinpointing that if Emmett really relies on his power, it could be a detriment to him. And I think that Dustin Poirier, with his wins against Conor McGregor, his 2 wins against Conor McGregor, the way that he was affecting Dan Hooker in his fight that he won in unanimous decision, and the way that he was able to take out Max Holloway, even though it was a decision, but we saw that the way we saw the way that his punches were affecting Max Holloway, and so on and so forth. You know, the way that he took out Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis, and the list goes on. But the way that he was affecting people with his punches, I think really got to him. I think it was a thing that was in the back of his mind that if I touch you, you're going out. And he was really surprised that Charles was able to take his shots and to even fire back and reset himself and compose himself in the moment. I think that even Oliveira in that first round was really, worried. Who wouldn't be? Dustin Poirier, he looked big for this division. He packed on the muscle, and was really going after. I can't explain it even better than that. It was just spectacular. It was just so special to watch someone just compose himself in the moment and not listen to everybody. If you listen to everybody and everybody was telling him that Dustin Poirier was going to be the champion and he was the rightful champion of this 155-pound division, if you would have listened to that, then something like this wouldn't have happened. This special event wouldn't have happened. Anyways, so at the end of the fight, Charles Oliveira backpacks Dustin Poirier, and at that moment, when he gets his hook, when he gets his leg hooked, and at that point, your head's a little bit above the water. You're about to drown. When Charles Oliveira gets that hook in and he's able to get on your back, it's almost a wrap at that moment. At one point, you're either going to get fatigued by carrying this guy on your back. We've seen that as well with people attempting this kind of a choke, this kind of maneuver. We've seen that before. And at that point, I think it's, you can't really do much after that. Once he's wrapped around you, it's not even when an arm is sunk in. It's literally when he's on your back. At that point, it's almost a wrap. And I felt so bad for Dustin Poirier. His 2 title losses have been to people that have taken him out via rear naked choke. Khabib Nurmagomedov took him out, rear naked choke. Charles Oliveira took him out in the way that we saw tonight. What a special fighter that we have in the 155-pound division. And, I mean, who knows what's next? I think Charles Oliveira's got to fight Justin Gaethje next. People were talking about that. Dustin Poirier, I think he's just got to reset. I think that he's got to take some time off. It's been a massive year for him. It's been a massive couple of fights for him, having to fly all the way to Abu Dhabi and have these fights, having the Conor McGregor fights and then this fight. It's very much a letdown for him, but we all know he'll be back. We all know that he has the skills to do whatever he wants in this division. But tonight is Charles Oliveira's night. And we'll see what's next for Dustin Poirier. And I think one of the biggest things that have come out of this card is Amanda Nunes has lost to Julianna Peña. I think all the appearances that Julianna has had on different podcasts like the MMA Hour, where she's done interviews and just talk this mess of trash to the former champion of this division in Amanda Nunes. I think a lot of people thought that she was delusional. A lot of people didn't think that she could take out Amanda Nunes in the way that she did. And what she did tonight was one of the greatest underdog stories of all time. I think maybe it's just a night, Maybe it's because it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning here. But I'm going to think that this is the greatest underdog story of all time. It's one of the greatest things that I've seen of all time, because when Amanda Nunes walks into that octagon, it's a wrap at that point. It's a done deal. And one person lost $300,000 tonight because he thought it was just a lock. And I mean, if you're betting $300,000, I'm sure you're not going to miss it that much. But at the end of the day, Julianna Peña went head first, went right at Amanda Nunes, and did what no other female fighter in this era of Amanda Nunes' career has done, which is go forward, plot forward, and eat some of these devastating shots that she had to eat in this fight. It was the way that she composed herself, the way that in some points she was at the beginning of the fight. I mean, she got hit with a leg kick. I think it was a slip, but her legs seemed compromised at that point. What a tough fighter, and the way that she came back and started throwing punches. At one point, when Julianna Peña was throwing punches in the first round, in the first half of the fight, it looked like she was a lot slower than Amanda Nunes. It looked like her punches were very dictated. You could see when she was about to fire, it was very one note. But then at one point, I think Amanda got cracked. She got worried and saw that even on the ground, this lady's going to go for offensive submissions off of her back, always going for, not just going to lay there and let her choke her out. This is someone that's going to fight her way through every single part of the fight, even on the ground, even when she's getting cracked in the head. She recomposed herself in this fight. And again, I think both of these fights, and I'm speaking to Charles Oliveira and Julianna Peña here, but in both of these fights, these fighters had to compose themselves, because I think that it may have seemed like Julianna Peña had this one all figured out at the beginning. But I believe at the start of this fight, Amanda Nunes was coming in here and she was hitting her with shots, and it was wobbling her, and she was on, I'm not going to say she was almost finished, but she was, compromised. She was in compromised positions. Even when she tried going for a single leg, Amanda Nunes just chucked her off and got on top of her and was bullying her around. But she never gave up. And I think that the sequence where Amanda took her down, or reversed the position that she was going for, and where she started going for that Kamaru, it really drained her. And I'm speaking about Amanda here. It really drained her of what she was planning on doing. I mean, in the fight, at one point it seemed like Amanda was just really gonna ragdoll her around. But then when she went for that Kamaru, when she started doing offensive submissions off of her back, I think it really tired out Amanda Nunes. And then when they went back on the feet, at that point, I think Amanda Nunes got a little bit worried in that second round. And that's when Julianna Peña put it on her. She saw the moment and she seized it. She wasn't like a deer in the headlights. She wasn't scared of grabbing the moment. And she hit her with a couple blows, shook her. But I think a lot of people, including myself, had some doubt because it was such an improbable outcome that when we saw Amanda Nunes wobble a little bit, I think for myself, and I'm thinking that for many other people, and some of the people that I've talked to already, they told me that when she was wobbled a little bit, Amanda Nunes, we still didn't think that she was out. We still thought, okay, well, yeah, she got her with a few couple shots, but are you kidding me? She got her with a couple shots, brought her down to the ground, and didn't even get a hook in for a rear naked choke. She was on the side of Amanda Nunes and just muscled that choke in. I'm not even sure if it was under the neck, and Amanda Nunes tapped. Spectacular. And then Julianna Peña goes into her corner thinking that, and she's asking everybody, did I win? Is the fight over? What's going on? And to her surprise, she figured out that she was able to celebrate because she won a world title over the greatest women's fighter in this era. And it just seemed like she just knew that this would happen. In her post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, there was no, there was a little bit of screaming here and there, but it just seemed like she had this mentality or mindset where she knew that she was going to win this fight. There was no ifs, ands, or buts going into this fight. And like I said at the beginning of us talking about this world championship fight, everybody thought that she was delusional. She was just talking and just trying to get the fight, just trying to get a nice little payday, fighting for the world championship, and then she was going to lose and ride off into the sunset. No. These guys have to fight again. Julianna Peña seized the moment. She took it over and did what needed to be done. What a spectacular fight. And I was screaming like crazy. Like, Amanda Nunes, 1,000. She was going to win this fight. That's what everybody thought. But Julianna Peña told us that, if you believe in yourself and all that good stuff, but the preparation and the mindset that she had going into this fight and not giving up when she was compromised at the start of the fight, I swear, it felt like Julianna Peña it was a wrap for her, and she came back and won it. How spectacular. Amazing. So I'm going to quickly go over the rest of the fight, mostly talking about the main card fights. Hopefully I'll get to chat more about it later on. But Jeff Neal defeating Ponzinibbio. I think Jeff Neal could have showed a lot more, honestly. I think Jeff Neal saw some opportunities. I agree with his coach 1,000%. You got to stop with this hugging and shaking and all this kind of stuff. If Ponzinibbio is complaining about an eye poke or anything like that, you got to, and the referee says go, you go. You take that moment. That frustrated me a little bit because we know how good Jeff Neal could be and how good he is. And for him to get the split decision win, it was just a little bit, because we know that Hands of Steel, the reason why he's called Hands of Steel is because he takes care of people. And I don't know why, but every time there was an opening, he didn't go for it. It's bad to say, but when Floyd Mayweather took out Victor Ortiz in that moment, I know it was bad and everything, but he took care of the situation. If the referee says go and it's legal, then go for it. This is the fight sport. These are the fight sports. You got to seize the moment. Okay, so Kai Kara-France takes out the former bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt. Man, this was, his nickname is Don't Blink, and I keep on forgetting because I keep on blinking. And I keep on, especially Cody Garbrandt coming down there in the bantamweight division. You always wish the best. You know, a lot of people like Cody, but a lot of people like Kai Kara France. And the way that he was able to take out Cody Garbrandt, who I think thought that he would possess the power in this fight and would be able, and whenever he touched Kai Kara France, he would be able to take him out. But Kai Kara France, the way that he was getting into the situation, the way that he was getting into the pocket of Cody Garbrandt and hitting him with those shots and having Cody Garbrandt completely show his back to him and almost run away and then start egging him on. You saw the old Cody come out there. And I hope that Mark Henry would be able to resolve some of those issues and bring in a lot more of Cody Garbrandt's wrestling. People forget that he's an amazing wrestler. You know, in pure wrestling, he has a pedigree. I think he wrestled in high school. I don't think he has any collegiate background, but he's a good wrestler. And I hope that Mark Henry would be able to show him a little bit more. I don't know what's next for Cody Garbrandt. I really hope he stays in the UFC. I'm not sure how many fights he's got left, but man, this 125 switch up for Cody Garbrandt was supposed to hit the reset switch for him, but it seems like he's back in the position that he was before. But congrats to Kai Kara France, flying all the way over here, living with Dan Hooker. What a spectacular fight. What a spectacular win. And I think he deserves a title shot now. Okay, let's go to the AKA undefeated, unranked champion, Sean O'Malley. I'm only joking around there. But Sean O'Malley takes out his opponent, and man, what a devastating combination that he hit him at the end. I think this was a great win over a very tough opponent. A lot of people thought that this was the next test for him. Paivaia was ranked 15th. He wasn't ranked going into this fight. I forget why, but it was like for a weird reason or something like that. I don't know. It just randomly happened. But he's a tough fighter. And for Sean O'Malley to take him out like that, and all the pressure that was put on him, the pressure that Sean O'Malley had to face in this fight, and for him to take out someone in the pay-per-view main event, opening up the card, just shows how much this guy can just really seize the moment, take in the moment, and live in the moment. What a special fighter. I can't wait to see where he is ranked next and who he's going to fight next. I was thinking maybe he could fight Cody Garbrandt next. I mean, the way that Cody, his career is going, I think that he could fight Sean O'Malley next. I think that it kind of lines up now, especially with all the antics that were going on in that press conference and all the mess that they've been talking at each other. I think that maybe Cody Garbrandt and Sean O'Malley could fight. I think it kind of lines up now. I know that Cody wanted to fight at 125, but maybe, and I don't think the weight cut was an issue for Cody. I just think that maybe the fight to make, because Sean O'Malley is never going to make 125. So I think the fight to make is at 135, Cody Garbrandt versus Sean O'Malley. Maybe I'm living in the moment. Maybe I'm not seeing the big picture. But I kind of see it lining up now. I mean, they could be at the same level. I know he's a former champ and all that kind of stuff, but Sean O'Malley, big star. Cody Garbrandt needs something to kickstart his career. If he can take out Sean O'Malley, or if Sean O'Malley can take him out, it might kick off Sean O'Malley's career, and it might reset Cody Garbrandt's career. So who knows? Let's quickly go through these prelim fights. Special fights, amazing fights. Josh Emmett taking out Dan Ige, unanimous decision win. What a tough fight. The power that he possesses is incredible. I believe he's 36. So, and to take out Dan Ige like that, special. Great. Dominic Cruz, like I said at the top of the podcast, vintage Dominic Cruz. And for him to get that second chance almost by the referee, and not the referee not stopping the fight in that moment, because he was out. I know he said that he slipped, but I could see the eyes rolling into the back of his head, and he was out. And for him to come back and win this fight, that knock to the head maybe just woke him up a little bit, and he started doing his vintage Dominic Cruz stuff, the footwork, everything perfect. Great fight. Let's see who's next for him. Maybe Sean O'Malley as well. I know there was a couple interviews and stuff going out talking about maybe Sean O'Malley's next for him. Tai Tuivasa takes out Augusto Sakai. Man, the way that Sakai dropped after Tai Tuivasa hit him with those shots, he just sees an opening, and he smells blood in the water, and he does not stop. If you show any quit, this guy's going to come after you. And he's very reserved and calculated until that chink in someone's armor shows. Until that chink shows, he's very reserved, calculated, waits for the moment to attack. But then when that faucet opens up, a waterfall of punches, powerful punches go after you. I love the way that he fights. He's always fun to fight, watch fight. Special guy. And I think that maybe having a camp focused just on him, like he has in Dubai, is the perfect thing for him. And he's always a fan favorite. Amazing to see heavyweight fights like that. And the second fight on the prelims, what a treat. So the next fight that I want to talk about quickly, early prelims, like I said, Ryan Hall gets the win over Derek Minner. I mean, it was. I know it's a win for Ryan Hall, but is it really the type of win that you want? Derek Minner, I think he made some mental mistakes. His coaches kept on saying, "Keep it on the feet," all that stuff, and Ryan Hall was just able to take him to the ground. Minner actually went down into his full mount and allowed Ryan Hall to throw up all those crazy submission attempts. Nothing too crazy where Minner was almost taken out and choked out or whatever. But is that really the type of win that Ryan Hall wants? I think that the best thing that he said was that he wants to remain super active next year. He wants 3 to 4 fights next year, which I think is perfect for him. I think these long layoffs has really affected him. The way that he was able to choke out people at the beginning of his career, and now I think it's just due to a long layoff. So let's see what happens later on. Okay, last one I want to talk about, Jillian Roberts' win. First of all, her opponent missed weight, then started gouging her eye. What a great win for the Canadian. But I think it was just despicable actions, trying to gouge the eye out and missing weight and all this kind of stuff. It was just tough to see, and it was horrible. I mean, Jillian Robertson didn't have to take this fight if she didn't want to. I mean, it's good to get a payday and all that good stuff, blah, blah, blah. But if she really didn't want to fight someone that didn't make weight, she didn't have to. And then for her to go in and try gouging her eye out, it was just horrible to see. And then after shaking her hand and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way. What an amazing night of fights. What amazing fighters we got to see in Charles Oliveira, Julianna Peña. Julianna Peña having the upset of all time. We're going to have a good debate on this when we're well rested and we can think about all of the other fights. But the way that Julianna Peña went in here and took out Amanda Nunes, it made me think of Ronda Rousey, Holly Holmes, and GSP, Matt Serra, all these underdog wins. So special. And let's see what's next for both of these American top team fighters in Dustin Poirier and Amanda Nunes. Sucks for both of them. But we know that they'll be back. Amanda Nunes still in charge of that featherweight division. And Dustin Poirier, he's always fun to watch. And we're ready for his next chapter, ready for his next chapter. And I think that there's a lot of things that both of these fighters need to work on. And I'm sure this is a wake-up call for Amanda Nunes. Dustin Poirier, for him, he's just got to go back in the lab, figure it out. There's 2 times rear naked choke, Khabib and Charles Oliveira. So we all know that he's got the best. Both of these fighters have the best facility around them, have the best training staff and coaches. And Matt Brown, what a genius he is. And we know that they'll be back better than ever. But what a special night. UFC 269 in Las Vegas. It was just special. Loved it. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you listening to the podcast and watching the live stream. If you haven't had a chance to watch the live stream when it was actually live, you can check it out on the YouTube page. It'll be streamed and it's streamed on the YouTube page all the time, but you can find out about it on the social media, on Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of good stuff. So give us a follow there. Really appreciate it. If you can like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, that's highly appreciated. If you can give a like to this video, all that good stuff, it's the best. And if you can listen to the podcast on the different podcast networks, that really helps out as well. Give a review, give a like, all that stuff really helps. I appreciate you listening. What a night of fights. What a special night of fights. And thank you for listening to me talk. I really appreciate it. This has been the Body Punch Podcast. My name is Naz.